We're talking about podcasts.
Ooh.
We're talking about itty bitty podcasts. A podcast.
Merry Mini Monday, Chunkies. I'm Carter.
I am Doge.
I'm Jordan.
I was on another timeline with that one, man. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right. Yeah, it's
That
okay.
was
all right.
another-
I threw you a
another
curvy.
place.
Threw you a curvy.
Episode 4 of Loki.
It's the best one. It's the best
Yeah.
one so far.
Yep.
Is it the best? Is it the best episode of the MCU
of
so
Marvel
far?
television?
Dude,
Of
it's
Marvel
arguable.
television.
It's arguable.
Perhaps.
It is arguable. I find myself having to kind of go back through and be like, what was the best episode of WandaVision? And I'm trying to compare the two of those. But this one is,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier doesn't enter into that comparison, huh?
unfortunately, no.
Man, that's weird because I was liking that while we were watching it. And like, I have pretty much no desire to watch any of it ever again.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think I still look on it kind of fondly. I don't think it is at the same level as these other two.
No,
Yeah, I'm
it was
happy
like
with the.
these feel more like prestige TV, like something you'd find on like an HBO or a Netflix.
Totally.
And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier is Marvel NCIS, Marvel
Yeah.
Blue Bloods. And
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just less my vibe than the others are.
Sure.
Best thing about Falcon and the Winter Soldier is
A Falcon.
the Falcon. When these two show up in another Marvel movie, I will be glad we had so much time to get to know them better.
Yes.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep. Completely.
But Loki, so episode 4, the Nexus Event, is an event. It felt like MC was
Yeah.
calling their shot a little bit. There's a lot that happens, and we don't want to jump into the biggest stuff just yet.
Yeah.
But it felt like, I'm not going to call it polarizing, because I haven't heard a single person on Earth say that they just don't like the show Loki.
Sure.
But I have heard several say, about half and half, that episode 3 that we talked about and we collectively liked a lot was kind of they kind of wished we didn't spend so much time
I liked it a lot.
with just the two of them.
See, I it's not the two of them that bother me. It was the kind of general, the visual of the episode was the weakest. I think 3 for me has been the weakest so far, but I still liked it.
Yeah, I think 3. I think there's so much going for this 4th episode
Yep.
that would have made it the best one regardless. But one of the main points of, has Loki fallen in love with a version of himself,
Yep.
cannot happen unless we have 3. Because
True.
remember, Sylvie, we get in episode 2 for maybe 3 minutes of like actual Sylvie, maybe less than that.
We need a whole
Yep.
episode of her in order for this to work.
For
Because
sure.
the Nexus Event, I think, is that 2 Lokis decide to team up.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't know that the Nexus Event that the TVA came in and like snatched him. I don't think that's necessarily them falling in love. It feels like it's 2
wouldn't make
Lokis
sense.
teaming up.
Because
No.
the Nexus Event would have started when they decided to work together, not when they touched hands.
Did they actually decide to work together before that moment, though?
I mean,
Because
they
we
were
get-
at
we
least
get the
heading
stuff
towards
from-
the same goal.
Sure. We get the stuff from Sif, Lady Sif, which, by the way, was a real surprising cameo for me. I thought Jamie
Yeah.
Alexander was done with this stuff. So
Yeah.
it's cool to have her back. But
She's like, hey, you can, but we get you. Listen, will you come back if you just get to kick Tom in the balls like 8 times?
like a bunch of times.
Okay, well,
But the thing
let
she
out
kept
your frustrations,
keeps saying,
like-
the thing she keeps saying is, "You are alone. Lokis are destined to be alone." And so
Yeah.
the second that it seems that 2 Lokis, or a Loki and an Enchantress, I'm still not convinced she's a Loki variant. The second that a Loki has a person he completely trusts, the only time that's allowed to happen is whenever he completely trusts Thor and is immediately killed by Thanos. So
Yeah.
anytime that happens sometime out of that moment, that's it. That's at least my read on what the Nexus
Sure.
Event was, because they're pretty unclear about it.
For me, I don't think it can be that they decided to work together because that was the moment they were resigned to die together because
Yeah.
they thought they were done. So I do think it has something to do with, I don't know if it's romantic love or if it's just something about their friendship and relationship being that close at that moment created it. But to me, I do think it's more than just we're teaming up. But I don't remember who said it, but I think one of us said last week, made the prediction that this episode would begin with Mobius snatching them from the jaws of destruction.
I think
Yeah.
it was Doge.
I don't
And,
think so, because I didn't think that would happen.
I don't remember which one of us it was, but I remember one of us saying it. And that's exactly what happened. I want to say, since obviously we can talk all the spoilies we'd like here, when Mobius was pruned,
Oof.
I yelled at the TV. I said, "What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You shouldn't."
Yeah, I was like, absolutely not.
Listen, the last time I felt like that, or even adjacent to, again, it's not as graphic or
Reigns of
as
Castamere.
heart-wrenching, but the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
It was just like a...
Yeah.
But there's
totally
so much so much story left.
Yep.
Like why?
Yep.
Like why?
I had that
and two, it was like gone too soon thing because the world right now, the buzz is Owen Wilson
100%. Yeah.
in a way we've never seen him before, and everyone's. There's so many articles that are like, hey, by the way, the best thing about Loki is Owen Wilson.
That boy coming back.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He has to. Well, especially with our post credits scene when Tom got pruned. It's funny you mentioned Game of Thrones because I was just like, oh, maybe this is what it felt like to watch Ned Stark get chopped off live.
Dude, that's probably an even better.
I was like,
example.
I thought he was the main boy of this whole thing.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the poster. He was literally the poster child. This is a pretty phenomenal episode of television because there's so much happening.
Yeah,
like I'm thinking back on all the points that I wanted to make, and I can't believe they stuffed this into 45 minutes.
Yeah.
While we're on the acting side of things, everybody showed new layers in this episode. Almost every single character, which is not easy to do without it feeling kitschy, without it feeling like
totally
we're just trying to do too much at one time. But Mubatha Raw's character to kind of start to see, like she is becoming. So we've got, of course, Mobius was too, but we're seeing everybody kind of flip a little bit.
Yeah,
Wunmi Musaku, our B-15. Like this was the best episode she's had because she's not just a soldier anymore. We're like seeing this might've been the first time we didn't see her with her helmet on. You know, like we're seeing some
didn't
breath.
get pruned, right?
No,
I think she got dead.
Did she?
I think they stabbed her with the pointy end. Yeah.
I didn't see anything happen to her on screen that I remember. So I was trying to figure out what her fate might have been after that fight.
No, I think she got dead.
But everybody's delivering.
Can we talk about and Doge, you might have mentioned this a while back on the show and I just didn't remember it, but I read this Wednesday night when the episode came out. I was on a thread just talking about the episode, just kind of reading some predictions and stuff. I guess I didn't realize that Ravonna Renslayer is married to Kang the Conqueror in the comics. And
big time.
This basically, without saying it out loud, pretty much 100% confirmed that this is a Kang situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is my first time to hear that.
The timekeepers are
happening.
I think the timekeepers are basically a front for Kang.
Yeah.
That he's just positioning them as like, no, they're the omniscient, whatever, they're controlling everything. But Kang is in actuality hiding out somewhere in the quantum realm, like pruning every timeline that doesn't lead to his birth and rise to absolute power.
Yeah.
That's like Kang's entire deal. And we've had a couple folks in Discord say this is a really popular theory. I'm pretty fully convinced that the TVA is in the quantum realm.
Oh.
That's why time passes differently here. Like we're down in the microverse at this point.
I do remember one of our beloved chunkies did bring that up. You are right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
There's just I don't even know necessarily where to go next. I would say I'm going to super pump for this episode is just all the pieces kind of coming together and yet still not fully being together. Like there's still a lot of questions here at the end, especially with our mid-credits scene. But I think my super pump was the loss of Mobius. And then it's like, wow, I can't believe they did that. But then there's 5 minutes left in the episode and Loki gets pruned.
And they kill Tom. Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I'm sorry. I had a moment where I was like, I mean, is this a hard, immediate transition to, Sylvie taking on that role? Like, is she now
is she Loki
protagonist?
Now?
Yeah. It's called Loki, right? I mean, she's Loki. Maybe it's called Lady Loki because we changed at the end. It's like we change it to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, is that just what they're going to do now?
Dude,
that was
honestly, kind of in the same vein a little bit, just in the like shock factor. My super pump for this episode is the mid-credit scene was so wild to me that I've thought about it like once an hour.
Yeah.
since
I keep looking at screen caps of that picture and be like, everybody looks so good. I'm so proud of them.
I'm really excited about it.
Just keep looking at screen caps of it.
Yeah. It's so it's like our first iteration ever. Richard Grant is like the very first time Loki was introduced in the comics, right?
Mm-hmm. Richard E. Grant is classic Loki. The kid is playing Kid Loki.
This was when you were supposed to let me.
Oh, you're right.
Of course you can do this.
You go.
Of course you can do this.
Spread your wings and fly.
Let's go, Carter. Let's do this.
Baby butterfly, break out.
There's like I had to double check because I was like, what's the voice coming from? I was like, is that coming from the crocodile, the alligator Loki?
I wish.
Because I had missed it the first time and had to back up. But
is it a Loki dial is the question, I guess.
It could be a Loki dial, but this was something that I think we never technically saw in the comics, but there had been times where Thor was turned into a frog, right? And so, and Loki does tend to turn into other animals. And then is the other one, it's not brutal Loki. What was the other one's name?
Boastful Loki.
Boastful Loki.
Is that a comics thing? I'm not familiar with that.
Not super duper a 1-to-1. It looks like he's holding some form of Mjolnir.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that Mjolnir whenever we get to the part that I'm legally allotted per episode, where I say some wild things and maybe none of them come true, but it's my theory corner and I have to have it.
Sorry,
it's
we can't. I sort of have I have the market on corners cornered.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
What about a theory nook?
It's a theory nook.
It's your theory nook. It's cozy.
There was a moment where like Loki has picked up Mjolnir before in the comic books, right? Just briefly.
Possibly. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
I know it's for sure. I think like
you
2020.
do know for sure.
There was like a
I
comic
thought that was a
recently.
question.
No. But
say it like a declarative. Really believe it. Give me another read of that line.
Yeah. So there was a moment when Loki does pick up Mjolnir.
I'm convinced.
But they only give us just a brief glimpse of that. And so as the MCU is wont to do, they'll if they even catch a whiff of it being canon, they're like, shit, yeah, we can use this.
Yeah, why not?
It didn't matter if it's all together. But
I think I am in love with the weirdness.
Yeah.
That this is delivering to us, that WandaVision was delivering to us. And I think that's what Winter Soldier was lacking so much. This is so weird and feels indicative of where we're headed in the MCU that I am just like aggressively on board with all the weird.
Yeah.
There's a Loki dial and Richard E. Grant is like a Comic-Con looking tired Loki. Like I'm
Classic
just on board.
Loki. Yeah.
I'm ready.
The all weird reminds me, honestly, of like 80s and 90s sci-fi. It's like somewhere between The Fifth Element and Total Recall and Ridley Scott and
completely.
Yeah. It's just
I love it. Yeah.
Well, we're entering into like this period of movies is like pretty similar to what Marvel was doing with comics in the 70s because people got tired of superheroes in the 60s. And so Marvel was like, well, we can make like books about like Bigfoot and stuff too, and just made a bunch of random things. And now on TV, they're making like, here's this like sitcom stuff. Here's this cop show. Here is our version of Doctor Who. They're just doing a bunch of like weird, different stuff because people sort of are, I don't know if they're fatigued with superheroes, but like
maybe it's a preventative measure.
Yeah, the gritty, grumpy, dark stuff is just not doing it for people anymore.
Speaking of different stuff, anytime we're in Renslayer's office, I want to just pause the screen. And when she was adding her trophy to the shelf, I was like, wait, what are these other things? I have no idea what these other things are. They look like normal things. But Mobius's mention of vampires, that broke the internet too.
Dude.
Because it's like, oh, Mahershala heard that. like he's coming. Like he's got, like we've just done it. Like we talked about vampires. And you talk about like Bigfoot and things like that. Marvel did have a Dracula, like just a straight up Dracula comic. But then the Daywalker comes along. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm real excited for that. It's going to be so fun.
I can't wait to see what they do with Blade. We haven't even said his name, Blade.
I think that is that is sort of the crux of all of this. It's like every time Marvel's like, hey, we got this in the pocket, it's coming pretty soon. My thought is like, oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
That's going to be so fun.
You know what's so fun is I'm thinking of the Disney properties, right? And so MCU is one of those. What MCU has a leg up on anything other, like any other Disney property, whether it's like the original stuff from Pixar or just doing like Disney Animation Studios, any new Disney stuff is the library, is the vast room of requirement that is the MCU canon. Like they can do whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want probably till the end of time. Because first of all, there's a backlog we haven't even really touched. And second, it's still being made. Like there's still things for me to look up some stuff that people were noticing from the comics and see that some of them were from like 2020 or like 29. This is like during filming. They're picking things while they're still being respectful to what might have existed.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not really also holding to exactly what happened. And it's been a weird kind of respect that you'll have Marvel heads that come along and are excited for something new, are not necessarily offended by something completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you understand the comic books and that culture, then you're fine with anything happening.
Right.
And boy, does anything happen in
That's
Loki.
true. The other place where I feel like anything happens and you should be on your toes for anything is right here, right now, because we've got an ad.
For the ones standing guard, for the eagle-eyed, for the knights in shining armor, and for all those who support them. We are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, clickgrainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A scene that I hope doesn't get lost in this wild, wild episode is just a gripping scene that Sylvie has with B-15, and B-15 is asking her, like, hey, is this legitimate? And a lot of it has to do with B-15's relationship to, was it B-20 or C-20?
C-20.
C-20.
C-20, to just be able to say, like, this broke the camel's back here. Like, she has been pruned. And this, you know, we get Mobius's reveal too. And this was something that we were hoping, as we were going to have him kind of turn to being on the side of being against the TVA, which he doesn't really get to have 2 minutes of being on the other side before he's pruned. But I do think In the Rain, a return to the apocalypse that we had at the big warehouse.
Yeah, that was good.
Where Kablooey came from was very, very good. Because I think the strength of that scene was we're looking at two people that had nothing to do with the MCU until now.
Yeah.
And that is always super encouraging to me when I see brand new variables, brand new variants in the MCU movies and television shows, and they're just killing it, and they don't need Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
And they don't need Owen Wilson, who's an A-lister. It's two people I didn't know much about until right now, and I love that.
Yep. And I'm still invested in it. Like, it does, you don't have to have a RDJ on the screen. It doesn't have to be Iron Man 5 for me to care about something new. Yeah.
Speaking of Iron Man, the thing that I am nervous about with all of this timeline tomfoolery is that we're going to eventually circle around and negate all of the consequence and like emotional, what's the word I'm looking for? Not trauma, but like the payoff of Endgame.
The catharsis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a little worried we're going to end up undoing a lot of that.
That's always my big worry in time travel stories.
I hope that we don't.
And this is a great conversation because it's something that I also have a massive fear of, because it needs to, I think that's going to be an interesting conversation for us next week when we talk about Black Widow, because this was someone we lost, and now we have, even having a movie that's a prequel. And so it's like, hey, this is before she died. Like, there's a weird thing about, like, we've kind of already said goodbye. But a lot of the greatest stories that I have enjoyed the most, while they don't just bring anybody back like Fast 9 can, there's always a character. And it's usually one of the most beloved characters that, whether they are a Force ghost, whether they're wearing white now, whether they're on 4 big lion legs, come back. Like, people, like even Jon Snow, like people in canon of Game of Thrones die and come back. And so it's like, I don't know if the culture is not fatigued by that, because those are some of our favorite stories. Yeah. But I think if it starts not following our personal rules for things, then maybe it can get offensive. But I totally get that. That's why I am more for it's just not Black Widow anymore. I'm sorry, it's not Scarlett Johansson. Maybe it's Florence Pugh. Like, maybe it is
like the title,
someone carrying the mantle,
titles.
but it's not necessarily that person again in the flesh. But yeah, I think that's a great conversation. And it does get scary. Loki feels risky, which is perfect, right? I feel like I'm just doing a character analysis when I say that out loud. But it's like the show is chaotic, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, totally.
But it is the catalyst for the multiverse, which is going to be, I mean, we're about to have a phase full of chaos. There's going to be so many things going on.
Madness even, I would say.
Madness even. Yeah, I think I was more afraid when I saw that like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were going to be in the new Spider-Man movie.
Maybe. Still not confirmed. Still not confirmed.
Bro, okay.
Still not confirmed.
Still not confirmed.
Alfred
Still not
Molina
confirmed,
is.
confirmed. He is.
Yep.
He is.
J.K. Simmons is.
J.K.
He
Simmons
is.
definitely is.
And what are Alfred Molina and J.K. Simmons, if not Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 persevering?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Movies have obviously, we're not going to jump into like a history of technology in movies. Come a long way.
There are computers, right?
So there's this Charlie Chaplin guy. He's wild. He's wild. You're gonna
kooky.
love him. You're gonna love him once we talk about
Used
him.
to, back in my grandparents' day, all you needed was a big, giant, green, heavy curtain.
Mhm.
And then have someone pulling the strings behind that. Usually we just pull back the curtain. It just happens live.
Yep.
But now we spend a lot of Chuck E. Cheese money and have the timekeepers. Let's talk about this. Adam, who is our sound wizard, speaking of wizards, had talked about, the very first time we see them, they look like a puppet from the
Country Bear Jamboree.
Not Country Bear Jamboree. Yes, Country Bear Jamboree.
It's welcome to
But with
Disney's
the
Hall
way
of
that
Timekeepers.
the way that the eyes felt like the cantina.
Yeah, completely.
Like what you see in the shadows of whoever's hanging out, those thugs.
Yep.
But to have the three identical, perfectly, parallel, like this, making this perfect little triangle back in the back feels unrealistic. And I can understand how that might feel like a little bit offensive. Like, well, duh. Like, do you feel like the makers of this show wanted us to know at that point for sure that they were fake?
I definitely think they wanted us to have doubts about their realness.
Yeah.
I think the moment you see just a ton of fog,
Yeah, right.
it's like, what's the point? Like, are we really going that much for, like, how cynical of a villain do you have to be?
Yeah.
To be like, well, but this is what I saw. This is what I saw in that one movie. It's like, we gotta have the fog, make sure the eyes are red.
Yeah.
But it does feel almost immediately staged, and we find out that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it right away because I've been of the opinion that I think the timekeepers are real and the middle one's King the Conqueror because the statues look more like King the Conqueror than the animatronic does.
Right.
Right.
And so my first thought was, number one, vindication. I can't wait to tell my friends I was right about them being real. My second thought was, oh, bless their heart. This looks terrible. The CG looks awful.
Their heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And the animatronic, I think it had to be that it didn't look exactly like him, right? I didn't want this to look like Jason Isaacs in the face because that reveal is going to be great.
Do you mean Jonathan Majors?
Jason Majors. Who's Jason Isaacs?
Jonathan
Majors.
Jason Isaacs is Draco Malfoy's dad?
Y'all just said two different things. So
no, Jonathan Majors.
We said the same thing.
Is who's cast as Kang. Jason Isaacs is Lucius Malfoy.
I feel like one of you just said Jason Majors.
You said Jason Majors. Twice.
Oh my God. I'm so confused. Okay, who is playing Kang?
Jonathan Majors.
Okay. Jonathan Majors.
You know him from Lovecraft Country.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been thinking the entire time that it's Jason
Isaacs.
That it's Lucius Malfoy?
Sorry. I've been thinking the entire time that Malfoy is playing, but this is great.
Yeah,
this is even better.
Much more excited for Jonathan Majors.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Jonathan Majors. Can't wait. I don't even remember what my point was going to be because I tend to have certain things revealed to be live that were revealed to the rest of the world just normally, and I just read it wrong. But yeah, do you think they're going to have as much of a lead up in our real time, not in Marvel time, that we did for Thanos? Or are they going to show our new big bad early?
I think they should jump in much earlier, in my opinion.
I think we're gonna get like a final episode, a post-credit scene of him here. We might get little bits of him, but I think he'll be the primary antagonist in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some other Avengers in that too.
Yeah, and it feels like it's we've kind of split. We'll probably split the big Thanos baddie energy into maybe more than one Can there be multiple big bads, or is that against?
No, there definitely can be. I'm interested to see how like the Kang stuff, which is more of the sci-fi side of Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that lines up with the kind of mystic side, because Doctor Strange will be dealing with the multiverse, which is part of the Kang thing, but in a much more mystical way. I don't know. I think it's going to continue to be interesting how they thread that needle tonally and like genre specific. Yeah.
I kept thinking back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier when they were talking about what were the three things? There was like wizards,
aliens, and androids.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the other question, I guess, is like, was Mephisto just a tease, or is he around somewhere?
Where did we tease Mephisto?
WandaVision?
When?
Am I thinking of the wrong name right now?
What did we tease in WandaVision? What are you talking about?
Wasn't there a lot of conversation about Mephisto?
Yeah, there was conversation about Mephisto being a
presence
I
in
think
the
that was
MCU?
just I think that was just theorizing. I don't know that there was a concrete tease. I think WandaVision asked a lot of questions and people were like, "Oh, Mephisto's the answer," and then WandaVision answered the questions differently. I don't know if there was actually a for real tease.
Okay, fair.
Okay.
That was the question I was asking.
I mean, she is looking at, that does appear to be the Darkhold in that post-credits scene, which has ties to Mephisto's realm and things like that. But I think that's about as far as we go with it.
Okay.
It might be difficult to portray Mephisto on the same screen that we have like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, how do those two things fit into the same world?
I would have
watch, said that about this too.
I would love to watch this high school Spider-Boy fight Satan.
The devil himself.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
It has Dormammu vibes, though.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, Jordan 2U specifically. I was like, I've been liking these Marvel movies, but the talking tree, that's never going to work.
The raccoon with the guns? No,
of course not. Of course it won't work. Guys, take a look. You're in my nook. It's Doja's Theory Nook.
Theory Nook.
Nice.
I bring you gifts today, not of comic lore, but of the oldest stories, the stories before stories. This is the Norse myth that I come to speak with you about today. One of the oldest stories. We have basically two Eddas that we know all Norse myth from. Eddas are long form writings. We have the poetic Edda and the narrative Edda. The poetic Edda is the earliest, and it's a collection of the long poems that were passed down oral tradition that ancient Nords used to tell one another. The narrative Edda is like an analysis of the poetic Edda. One of the stories that we get, I believe it's from the poetic Edda. So it's one of the oldest stories in like all of history, is a story of Loki, the trickster Norse god, cutting Lady Sif's hair while she sleeps. Lady Sif is the wife of Thor in the myth.
She kills him, doesn't she?
She gets very furious at him, and Thor is furious as well. Because Sif's beauty, as often was true in the ancient world, is in her long hair. And so Loki does this to play a trick on Thor. Loki feels so apologetic that he goes and gets in touch with the dwarf smith brothers, Eitri and Brock. They're the best smiths in all of Asgard. And so he commissions them to create a magic hammer for his brother Thor, called Mjolnir, and he gives it to Thor as an apology. I have a theory that, Mjolnir is rumored to make a return in Love and Thunder. And the boring version would be that it's the Mjolnir that Steve Rogers grabbed from the timeline whenever he went back. The way cooler version is that at some point in this show, Loki's going to go to the dwarf smiths, Eitri and Brock, and ask them to forge a Mjolnir. And then he will be the way that Mjolnir returns in Love and Thunder. I do wonder if boastful Loki, the guy with like the kind of mechanical looking Mjolnir, if we're going to find out that's how he made that Mjolnir. Like he commissioned it for his Thor, and some sort of trickery or mischief allowed him to receive it.
So what happened to in this theory, what happened to the Mjolnir that we see in Endgame?
We don't know. I mean, we still don't know right now.
Right, but I'm just saying, isn't Mjolnir already back? Like, does there have to be a mystery around it coming back?
No, there doesn't have to be a mystery around it coming back, but it's way cooler if it comes full circle with the Norse myth.
It is way cooler.
They would do that specifically for me, but probably for nobody else, but that's cool for me.
On the topic of cool things, the we talked briefly about Richard E. Grant as basically playing the OG Loki.
Yeah.
Which I think somebody called on this episode that's who he would be. Which, when you think of the resume of Richard E. Grant, it's like maybe he's always been meant to play Loki.
Maybe he's actually just playing himself, finally.
Maybe he's just playing himself.
He already owned that leotard and diaper combo.
Probably.
When you look back, this is almost a carbon copy of like the introductory costume for
Oh, completely.
for Loki. And the fact that via many things, obviously our costume design team, the camera angle we choose for the cinematography, there is nothing cooler to me than the way those horns look on his head.
Yeah, completely.
As also ridiculous it looks, like somehow they took this kitschy Adam Westian, like old school vibe type thing and made it look great. Do we have anything else left to share on this episode right now? I mean, I'm sure we do.
I mean, there's always something left.
Yeah, with Marvel,
always
it's a
something left.
bottomless pit.
We're gonna listen back to this when it comes out and just be like, how did you not say this,
Dude,
you
every time-
absolute idiot?
Every time with these TV shows, because the conversation is so dense, it's always like we finish an episode and then 2 days later I'm like, did I even mention that?
Did I even talk about Tom Hiddleston? He's in this. He's in this episode.
He is in this episode.
That's true.
To end this one. And we only have 2 more Loki episodes left, guys.
It's sad.
Only 2 more left.
What's our next
To end
Marvel
this
show?
episode.
I think something in the
Obi-Wan?
fall.
It's not She-Hulk, is it?
I kind of think it might be
Is it
sometime in the
She-Hulk?
fall. Maybe it's the Hawkeye show.
We're not going to do What If.
Maybe it's What If. I don't remember.
What if?
I don't remember when that one
could be
comes
cool.
out.
The people might want it. We'll see. To end this episode, I think it was incredibly creative and just torture. The time cell is a gruesome idea. The moment, I love how that was in red and not in orange. So you're like, okay, even Loki's like, what is this?
It's a bad door.
I'm used to this, these unspoken rules. I'd love to have your name to end this episode, and I want you to tell me what is the scene in your time cell that keeps being relived over and over and over again. I'm Carter, and it looks much like the current space that I'm in right now. I'm on a Zoom call with my friends, and we're talking about a movie called The Prestige. And I am about to mention looking into what is David Bowie's next big
What's he
movie
up to?
that he's going to make. What is he up to? Only to find that he on a world news level months prior had died. Years prior.
Many months prior.
Many months prior
Many
had
sets
died.
of 12 months prior.
And I don't know how long it would take me to try and course correct, just because that feeling will never leave of like being so very wrong about life, literally. But yeah, that's my time cell.
I'm Doge, and we all knew this was the moment, but my time cell is I'm forced to live forever and ever in the moment where I very innocently bring up to my friends, I didn't have time to grab dinner tonight. Luckily, there was some stuff. Somebody had literally just set some orange chicken at the very top of the work trash can. So I just grabbed it, heated it up, and I went to see Endgame. We loved it. We had a good time, and I'm not hungry anymore because I didn't have time to eat dinner. So I just ate this, and my friends will never look at me the same and have never looked at me the same. I have crossed some social boundary I did not know existed, and there is no going back. Except for it's a time cell. So I'm forced to cross that boundary over and over and over again.
I'm going to speak this into existence, and it's a spoiler because it's going to ruin the moment. Someday down the road, Two Chunks is going to host something to tell our patrons we appreciate them. We're going to have a buffet. And for fun, we're going to display some orange chicken
on top of a trash
in
can.
a trash
That's
can.
how you're going to serve
chicken.
it. You're going to serve it out of the trash.
That's how you're going to serve it, on a trash can lid. And they're going to love it. They're going to love
Guys,
it.
I'm glad my foibles can bring you this endless amount of joy. Makes
Every
me
time
feel
you
really
tell-
great about myself.
Every time you tell the story, I can hear the language being carefully chosen to make it seem more like normal and cool and like
Set.
not that weird.
You pick up set. Someone had just
Set the it's like every time there's a little shift to be like it's a totally normal thing I did. It's not normal. It's so weird. It is so weird.
It is.
It is such a weird thing.
I'm trying to maintain a little bit of my dignity because everybody in Discord's gonna be like, eat the chicken again, trash boy. And I don't want that for my life.
Hey, there's no dignity on this podcast. Set it aside.
So I'll set it on top of the
Set
trash
it
so that
aside.
I may pick it up again later, unspoiled by the garbage below.
I think it is so tempting. I'm Jordan. It is so tempting to bring up like an actual traumatic moment and just get all very intense and serious, which isn't funny.
Bro, that's not funny.
But I do very specifically remember calling my first grade teacher mom loudly in front of the entire class. And I think that's a pretty common experience. But I don't even think anybody laughed necessarily, just like the shame that I felt. Like, the intense, deep, like, what have I done? And so I think my time cell would just be the split second after the word mom left my mouth. So I couldn't change what I have done. And I just have to live in that.
That's
Just
a good,
the room
good placement.
silently looking at me like, huh? Ugh. That's not his mom. That's Miss White.
Meyer brand snacks promise the great value you expect with a quality guarantee in every bite. And summertime snacking is our most favorite snacking season of all because Meyer brand makes it deliciously easy. From new lemonade flavors to classic ingredients for backyard s'mores to creamy ice cream varieties like new limited edition Purple Cow by Meyer Very Berry Americana with ribbons of real strawberry and blueberry swirls waving in creamy vanilla ice cream. Stop into Meyer and discover big taste and bigger savings on Meyer brand summertime snacks.